Go inside the Crimson Tide. Tider Insider TV with Rodney Orr and Carrie Harris.
Follow Williams. Lacey does. Slips in untouched. Yeldon driving and scoring a touchdown. McCarron into the end zone. Amari Cooper, touchdown, Alabama. McCarron wide open. Kevin Norwood cut to the right. Left side. Touchdown, Alabama. Lacey for the 6. McCarron across the middle, caught by Amari Cooper. Another missed tackle and another Alabama touchdown.
You didn't see the Iron Bowl? You just saw it.
Yeah.
42-0 at halftime. Game, set, match. Alabama went on to win 49-0. More on that game in a moment. Good evening, everybody, and welcome in to Tider Insider TV, presented each and every week by Buffalo Rock Bottling Company. Tonight, ice-cold Diet Pepsi, and you liked it so much you just couldn't contain yourself.
I dropped some of it.
Man, that is good. Always tastes better after an Iron Bowl victory, don't you think, Rod?
Yeah, always.
Again, we'll recap the 77th Iron Bowl in a moment, but first, the Tide's 49-0 demolition of the Auburn Tigers in the Iron Bowl secured the SEC West Division title for the Crimson Tide and a spot in the SEC Championship game against the Georgia Bulldogs. Now, under Nick Saban, Alabama played in the 2008 SEC title game against Florida, losing 31-20, and again in 2009, beating the Gators 32-13. Alabama won the BCS Championship last season, but did not play in Atlanta. So after a 3-year hiatus, Bama is back at the Georgia Dome.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, every time we've been in it since I've been here, this is a playoff game. I mean, 2 years we played Florida, we were 1-2. I don't know who was 1 and who was 2, but we were 1-2. And, you know, now you got 2 and 3 playing, which is, you know, a great competitive venue. And they've certainly earned the right to be there for what they've accomplished in their full body of work for the season. And our team has done the same thing. So, you know, it's the kind of game that, you know, players ought to love to play in. And, you know, we're looking forward to it.
I mean, it feels great. It's something we've been working for, you know, all season long, all summer long, and stuff like that. It's gonna be a great challenge for us also because we know Georgia has great defense, and it's gonna be a challenge for the offense to come out and put some points on the board.
Like I said before, you know, all that hard work you put in through the summer, spring ball, is to get to the SEC championship, to win your conference. And when you don't, you feel like you didn't do your job. But that's one of our goals, you know, as far as the total ultimate goal for us. And to play in it for a second time around, it's a blessing.
Yeah, we talked about it before, being able to do what last year's team didn't even do. So for me, like I said, it's my first one, so I'm excited to practice for it and to play in it. So we got to make sure that we prepare the right way, and we got to make sure that we stay focused and stay humble about our situation that we're in.
All right, that was yesterday, the Alabama media session with Coach Saban and the players. I was so excited getting into the show, and I don't know if I actually, I know they put up a graphic, but I don't know if I actually said, he's Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris, if you don't know. And this is a special week, and as I talked about earlier, Rodney, and Nick Saban has said this too, that the SEC championship game, no disrespect to the BCS title game or any BCS bowl, but it's as exciting a championship venue as he said he's ever taken a team. And it's nice for Alabama to be back after missing it in 2010 and 2011, and to have a great opponent like Georgia, who is, let's be honest, they're trying to get to where Alabama is at. They want respect. They want to beat Alabama, slay the king of the SEC, and then move on to play Notre Dame for the national championship. So this game, like the two that Alabama played against Florida, is a national semifinal game for all intent and purposes.
Yeah, certainly, Gary. And, you know, a few weeks ago, a lot of people thought or wondered, would the SEC have an opportunity for the 7th time in a row to win a national championship? And all of a sudden, things fell into place, and Alabama and Georgia right here at 2 and 3 with the opportunity to settle it on the field, and then the winner, of course, playing Notre Dame for the national championship. But, you know, I think that when you look at Georgia and you talk about, you know, I don't really know who's saying they don't have respect. I guess only they feel that way, but, you know, they were in the championship game last year, so they're certainly, you know, an outstanding team.
Alabama's 11-1. Georgia's 11-1. Tide is the West Division champion. Georgia's the East Division champion. I guess the difference in the seasons, though, if you looked at them would be the two losses. Alabama lost a heartbreaker against an outstanding Texas A&M team, while Georgia was blown out against a very fine South Carolina team, but really never in the game. I think the final was 34-7. But physically, they can match up with Alabama. Talent-wise, they seem to match up with Alabama. Just the two teams, compare and contrast. Rodney, who do you think's got the better football team?
Well, I mean, you know, again, we're going to find out on Saturday. I can't really, sit here and answer that question at this point. I think, when you look at them, they've been different. I think Georgia's had some struggles throughout the season, obviously, but so has Alabama. I think, you mentioned the talent. Both these teams are loaded with talent. Georgia might be, to be honest with you, more talented, in terms of guys that are going to end up in the NFL. Might be more talented than Alabama.
Of course, Georgia the only team to beat Florida this season, while Alabama the only team to defeat LSU in Baton Rouge, and only the third loss that they've suffered down there at night second loss at night under Les Miles, one to Alabama, one to Florida. Of course, Alabama's won second and won twice in Baton Rouge, so those are kind of marquee victories for this season. It should be a great game. Both teams have two outstanding tailbacks, outstanding quarterback. You could argue that Georgia has a little bit better defensive front than Alabama, believe it or not. You certainly could argue that Alabama's offensive line is better than Georgia's. Rodney, I think if there's a portion of the game that might swing it in Alabama's favor, it could be the kicking game. Alabama's kicking game this year in every phase. Place kicking, punting, coverage, returns has been better than Georgia's.
Well, and I tell you, Gary, when you look at it too, I think this game here is a showcase of the two top quarterbacks, the two of the best quarterbacks, not only in the SEC when you're talking about passing efficiency, but also from the standpoint nationally. And you talk about Aaron Murray, he leads the SEC just barely over A.J. McCarron in passing efficiency, and they're two great quarterbacks. And one difference is Aaron Murray's played in this game last year, but A.J. McCarron's already won a national championship, was actually the MVP in that game. So he's got big game experience from the standpoint of winning it. So I think he is adjusted to this type of situation. I mean, he knows what to expect.
Should be an outstanding football game. One of the great atmospheres in college football is the SEC Championship game at the Georgia Dome in Atlanta. Well, still to come tonight on Title Insider TV, Rodney and I will have our predictions on the SEC Championship game. But when we return, we'll revisit the 77th Iron Bowl. It was a beatdown in T-Town. Also, Title Insider TV will be taking your phone calls and answering your emails. The information, as always, is on your screen on how you can get in touch with us. Go ahead and call in now or send us an email. Either way, you're watching the show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, the award-winning Title Insider TV presented by Buffalo Rock. Welcome back to Title Insider TV. Alongside Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Real quickly, Rodney, TitleInsider.com, the latest recruiting information today. A big article on Von Bell, and you certainly got people covered if they want to get the latest on Crimson Tide recruiting.
Yep, Von Bell, absolutely outstanding safety, Gary, from the state of Georgia, as well as Mackenzie Alexander, a cornerback from the state of Florida that Alabama's recruiting. And we keep up with what's going on in terms of the team, the practices, and the latest on that, as well as our sports forum and the quad, where people can talk about other things. But, those are really active forums, a lot of information shared there and passed along, and a lot of opinions, too. And sometimes they're kind of out there.
Yeah, TitleInsider.com. Check it out on the internet. Well, the Iron Bowl turned out to be what we thought it would be. Auburn was just as bad as their record would indicate, and Alabama was just as good. Senior day, of course, for Jesse Williams and others, and the result, when you have two teams going in opposite directions, sometimes is a lopsided game. This one was 42-0 at halftime. Probably could have been, 75-0. Alabama's offense scored 6 for 6 on possessions in the first half. They scored on the opening possession of the third quarter. Then Nick Saban put in the backups. The backups drove down to the 6-yard line where Kenyon Drake fumbled, and after that, Alabama really didn't try to score. At the end of the game, they could have, but Alabama took a knee, 49-0. And it was complete domination in every phase. When you look at the numbers, as we will in a moment, statistically it was dominating. Physically it was dominating. Of course, Auburn fired Gene Chizik on Sunday, but I can honestly say, Rodney, in my years following the Iron Bowl, I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen a rout like this one, and may not ever again.
Let me ask you, though, should it have been this bad? You look at Auburn, physically, they had some players out there that look really good. That's the first time I've seen them, obviously, this year in person. Physically, they don't look that bad.
No, they got a good-looking football team. When they run on the field, they look like just like any good SEC team, and we talked about in the press box. Good-looking defensive linemen, some young, big, strong offensive linemen, some guys that can run. But here, this is an example, like Keystone Cops. 3 guys run into each other, and Amari Cooper on a simple slant goes for a touchdown. Their tackling was as bad as I've ever seen
It looks
in
like
an
they
SEC game.
basically quit coaching.
They just didn't tackle anybody. And, you know, for Alabama, it was a good day, although at the same time, you want to win the Iron Bowl, but this was one that, you know, sometimes you enjoy it, I guess, more when you're playing against a better football team.
Yeah, I mean, again, it was a warm-up.
All right, let's take a look at the numbers, and you'll see what we talked about. No comparison between the two teams on Saturday. Total yards, rush yards, pass yards. Alabama won the turnover battle. And look at this. In the last 2 years, Alabama has outscored Auburn 91-14, and Auburn has not had an offensive touchdown, Rodney, in the series since Cam Newton was the quarterback in that amazing comeback game in 2010. So Alabama wins the Iron Bowl, and as we've already talked about, they've got bigger fish to fry in the SEC Championship game, and hopefully the BCS Championship game. But still, on Saturday, it was a happy Crimson Tide locker room, and here's head coach Nick Saban to start us off with our Iron Bowl postgame.
I was really proud of the way our players competed in the game today. Really executed well offensively in the first half. They did a lot of shifting and motion, and the defensive players did a good job of adjusting and played well on the game, especially for I feel great about the seniors being able to close out their career here with a pretty memorable victory for them. You know, this is a great rivalry game, and for our players to be able to win this game is always a big thing for our fans, our players, and all of our supporters. And I was really pleased with the way we played in the game.
Really, we just knew some of the things that they were going to do. And the plays the coach called on both sides. We did a great job of executing them and doing what we were supposed to do.
We would never expect to win this big against an opponent like Auburn, but I mean, it is what it is. We came out, we played hard, and it was the outcome.
We just go in with preparation and we just work really hard and try to execute on all the plays. We really don't look at the scoreboard, but you know, it shows that we put a lot of preparation in throughout the week, and it showed at the end of the game.
But everybody just being accountable to do their job, you know, not trying to do too much and not trying to, you know, not worried about the outcome and just go out and play your best for 60 minutes. And now that everybody is focused on doing their job, then, you know, we're okay. You know, nobody's trying to do too much. Everybody's just doing their job, and I think that's going to be the key from here on out.
Alabama certainly seems to have kind of taken control again in the Iron Bowl. That's 4 of the last 5. The only loss in that time was the amazing comeback by Auburn. Included in that 4-game out of 5 winning streak for Alabama are 36-0, 42-14, and 49-0 victories.
Yeah,
so
domination.
Right now, Alabama's back on top in the state of Alabama, no doubt about that. Well, still to come, Rodney and I will have our predictions on the Alabama and Georgia game. And don't forget to give us a shout here on the show, 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. We'll take your phone calls now and put you on the air. You can also email us, TITV@WVUATV.com. Stay with us. More Tider Insider TV right after this. Tider Insider TV continues. The SEC Championship game is coming up on Saturday at the Georgia Dome. Alabama taking on the Georgia Bulldogs. Our predictions at the end of the show. But right now, Rod, time to take some phone calls. And first up tonight is our buddy Joseph. Joseph, what's going on?
Yeah, Rodney, what's up, hot night? What's going on with y'all?
Hey, brother.
Hey,
Joseph.
Joseph.
Let me go. Hey, take this out. Now, how we looking at the wide receivers? From my understanding, Chris Black got cleared the place. Will we be swapping place with Marvin Sheehan?
That's a good question, Joseph. We didn't mention it, but there was certainly a setback in the Iron Bowl. A negative was that Kenny Bell broke his tibia. He's out for the year, 27 yards a catch. He got deep. He cleared out a lot of stuff underneath for Norwood and Amari Cooper and Kristen Jones. He's gone, Rodney. And Chris Black, talented freshman out of Jacksonville, Florida, hurt in the preseason, thought to be headed for a red shirt, but they may have to use him. What's the latest?
Well, I think there's a possibility of that, and some people think it's a strong possibility that he'll play. You know, he, again, was expected red shirt, has not played at all this season, and, you know, he would, in essence, lose a year playing in these last game or two, and we'll see.
Yeah,
but, you know, that's happened before.
Yeah, I want to ask you, though, you know, because, again, he has not played at all. And your first game action to be in the SEC Championship game is It tells you how talented he is that they're considering playing. But at the same time, this is what you play for, to be in position to win an SEC title and a national championship. So I guess if he can help your football team, you got to pull out all stops.
Well, yeah, and you look at the injuries they've had at the position, and you mentioned Bell and Black's been out all year. DeAndre White has been out, and certainly they've taken a blow at that position. And fortunately, they've had enough depth to get through to this point. And I think that we'll see if he plays. A lot of people are convinced that he will, but we'll see.
We'll see. And Joseph, as you mentioned, Marvin Shinn's a guy that's going to probably get some more reps too. All right, let's go to Pelham and talk to Barry. Barry, welcome into the program. How are you?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Do it very well.
Yes, my question is, with Kenny Bell being hurt, Joseph kind of stole my thunder.
Yeah.
Will they take the red shirt off Chris Black?
Yeah, right, Barry. We just kind of answered that. But, again, it remains to be seen. It might be a situation where they monitor how the game goes, but there's no doubt he's going to be dressed and he's going to be available to play if needed.
Yep.
So that's about all we can say about that. We'll see on Saturday. But, again, if he can help them, expect him maybe to get into that ball game. All right, let's go to Birmingham and talk to PJ. PJ, what's going on?
Roll Tide.
Hey, brother.
I know the big game is in the Georgia Dome this weekend, but how do you think the basketball team
do at Cincinnati?
Can do against Cincinnati on Saturday?
Yeah, it's going to be their toughest game, PJ. There's no doubt about it. I mean, those biggest East teams are tough. I mean, to me, it's a lot like playing an SEC team in football. I mean, you find out what you're made of when you play against a Big East team in basketball. I mean, Cincinnati's big, physical. They don't lose a lot at home. I think it's a tough game for Alabama. Is Alabama capable of winning the game? Absolutely. But I'm certainly not going to predict them to win. I think it would be a great win for Alabama. But Cincinnati at home is going to be an awfully tough chore for them.
Yeah, well, measuring stick for sure.
No doubt about it. All right, more phone calls and emails on the way. Give us a call here if you want to get through on the program. Again, Rodney and I will make our predictions on Georgia and Alabama coming up at the end of the show. Stay with us. Let's go back to the phones and talk with James over in Rainbow City. James, welcome into Insider TV. Go ahead.
Hey, guys. How y'all doing tonight?
Doing very well, James.
I've got a comment and a question.
Sure.
The question is this: how does our defensive line stack up against their offensive line? And my comment is this: Alabama looks like they're more focused now after that loss, and it's amazing what Nick Saban and these players have done in the last 4 or 5 years. I've been a fan for 52, 53 years, as long as I can remember. It's unbelievable what they've done.
It is amazing. You make a great point. It is absolutely amazing. When you look at the numbers in this era, Alabama is doing some things that I don't think anybody could have predicted. Rodney, take into account that since 2008, Alabama has lost 2 road games in the Southeastern Conference. Both of them came in 2010.
Yeah, they play really well on the road.
At South Carolina.
Maybe better
on
the road.
At South Carolina, at LSU. The overall record it's just incredible. As far as the defensive line for Alabama against the offensive line for Georgia, I would consider that to be an advantage for Alabama.
Well, I would, certainly. And, I think when you look at Georgia's offensive line, they were struggling. You remember the South Carolina game, they were in a mess and certainly had to deal with Jadeveon Clowney. But, Gary, when you look at Alabama's defensive line and what they do, we watched some of the video there, Jeffrey Pagan and Jesse Williams, and how well they've come along this season. I think that, Georgia still has been, they're good offensively. They've got a good offensive line. There's no doubt about that. But I'm not sure that they're, when you look at the teams, Florida, South Carolina, they really struggled at times to move the ball. So, it's going to be interesting to see how they fare up front against Alabama.
All right, let's go to Saginaw and talk to William. William, welcome in.
Hey, Gary, Rodney, I just was wanting to know what you thought about A.J. McCarron and how well he needs to play for us to win the game.
Yeah, good question, William. I'll start off and then I'll hand it to Rodney. I just think he needs to be A.J. McCarron. If he plays his normal game, I don't think he played his normal game at LSU, but if he plays his normal game, that'll be plenty for Alabama. If they play well as a team, they should, in my opinion, have a chance to win the game.
I think the interesting thing, Gary, is going to watch to see how well Alabama runs the ball against Georgia. I mean, Georgia's got a big defensive front. John Jenkins is, 360? The Gathers kid is 360. I mean, that's a huge defensive front. You've got Jarvis Jones at the outside linebacker spot. Jordan Jenkins is another young freshman that's really playing well at the outside linebacker spot for them. So, I think it's going to be interesting. How much really falls on A.J. is going to depend, in my opinion, on how well Alabama runs the football. But I do think that Alabama's going to, they're not going to be tight offensively. I think they will loosen it up and throw the football.
All right, thanks for the phone calls. Prediction time when we come back. Well, as always, Rodney and I are outfitted tonight in original elephant wear from the Locker Room, a Tuscaloosa tradition since 1964, located on the University Strip. Get by the Locker Room Monday through Saturday and check out their great selection of elephant wear and more. You get personal service. They will size you, make you look great. And it's not just for football season. Alabama basketball, a great place to show off your original elephant wear as well. You can go to the store, as we said, on the University Strip, or check them out on the internet at www.locker-room.biz. All right, Rodney, it's prediction time. Alabama and Georgia, the winners, the SEC champion, and going on to play for the national championship. The loser probably going to the Capital One Bowl. So it's pretty much all or nothing.
Yeah. You know, Gary, when I look at this game, I think it's going to be a really tight, I think it's going to be an epic SEC championship game, maybe one of the best of all times. I think that both teams are obviously extremely talented. But, you know, one thing that I do think, I agree with one of our callers just a few minutes ago. I think Alabama, following that loss to Texas A&M, and I know the competition hasn't necessarily been great, but I think they've come back and they've been refocused. It's given them an opportunity. And you look at what A.J. McCarron, the numbers he's put up since the fourth quarter of the Texas A&M game. He's 30 of 39, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception, 550 yards. I think he's in his zone, Gary. I really do. I think he's got the accuracy again. He's throwing the ball really well. I pick Alabama 24-21.
You know, I think it's going to be a good football game, too. I'm going to make a comparison here. I remember in 2008, Florida had lost to Ole Miss that year, 31-30. Alabama was undefeated, but Alabama just wasn't quite ready. And they played it to the fourth quarter. They led going into the fourth quarter. Florida, though, with a couple of Tim Tebow touchdown passes, won at 31-20. I think that's similar to where these two teams are right now. Georgia's a very fine team. I just don't think they're quite ready to take over the Tide. So I'm going to pick it 31-20.
There you go.
I think Alabama takes care of business in the fourth quarter and moves on to play Notre Dame for the whole shooting match at the BCS Championship game in Miami. Hey, it's dinner time. We're headed to Buddy's Rib and Steak. Come out and join us in Northport. I'm going to get that great filet tonight. You want chicken breast tonight?
Probably.
I may talk you into a steak tonight. But anyway, we'll be out there about 7:15. Come by and see us. And remember, you can catch the show anytime at WVUATV.com. Rodney, I'm Gary. Good night, everybody.